We're going to tell you about a project called the Generative AI Maturity Interactive Tool, which has been developed by AWS and TM Forum, and which launches today. So if you go out onto the floor during the break in the upper area, which looks like the bar area, you'll see a pillar there, and you can try this interactive tool which launches today. So maybe I'll start off, Ross, and you can add as and when. So the reason we launched this project was because, and this was probably 4 or 5 months back, we observed that, and I think this came up in the discussion, saying Samir mentioned it today, that 2023 was a period of many, many proof of concepts. And as we move in 2024, the question the industry is asking itself is, can we start to deploy Gen AI use cases at scale? And our observation was that some operators were more mature than others in terms of their ability to deploy these new use cases. And so we launched a global survey. Many of you responded to the survey. So there's a global survey of 200 respondents, 200 operators across the world, and we asked them a series of questions about their generative AI maturity. And we'll talk about the different domains, if you like, of maturity for that survey. So having produced, oh, thank you very much. There you see the 6 pillars of maturity. So having produced the survey, we then inputted the data into an online tool, and we're now making that tool available to anybody, any telco in any country, to go into the tool to assess their maturity versus the industry globally, versus operators in their region, and versus market leaders. And what we did was we spent some time going through the responses and identifying probably 10, 15 operators who we thought were market leaders. So as someone using the tool, you get your score based on each pillar, and you can then compare your score regionally, globally with market leaders. But also at the end of the tool, you have the chance to download your scores, and then to get access to a number of different tools and capabilities from AWS and from TM Forum, helping you along your journey. So Ross, anything to add in terms of how we conceived the project and where the industry is at and why we thought it would be useful?
Yeah, I think it's a great tool. So the way we see it is we see that GAMIT is a way to really accelerate the successful deployment of generative AI use cases in production. And it really takes into consideration key requirements around security, policy, cost, and ultimately model agility. So fundamentally, it's helping telcos transform into cloud native and AI native organizations. So within that, it's providing key decision makers at telcos with deep insights and contextual information that they can then use to drive strategic decisions in the organization. And then a key capability is that it's providing an industry benchmark so that telcos can compare against peers and industry leaders so they can establish where they are in that journey and where they need to invest ultimately. And then it's distilling down the information we get from leaders in the Gen AI maturity, I guess, so they can actually integrate that into their own AI maturity roadmap, so they can actually evolve their capabilities. And then finally, I would say that it provides data-driven insights so that telcos can prioritize AI investment, so that they can prioritize which projects to focus on, and how to mitigate risk, as well as implement ethical AI practices. And then ultimately, it enables telcos to collaborate with TM Forum and AWS to accelerate their journey.
Great, thank you. So it's probably worthwhile diving into some of those, what we call pillars. Yeah. Because we thought they fell into these 6 categories. So the first one we've called technology, understanding, and maturity.
Yep.
And I guess the starting point for this was the fact that when it comes specifically to generative AI, we're talking about the use of large language models, small language models. And as we know, as we hear, there's many thousands of large language models. That number's just going to grow and grow and grow and grow.
Yep.
There's many different techniques for improving the results that you get from a large language model, RAG, prompt fine-tuning, etc. So this pillar around technology understanding maturity was seeking to understand where operators are at in terms of using different LLMs and different approaches to improve accuracy for different and specific use cases.
Yep.
And I mean, anything you saw, Ross, from the results that you found interesting?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, when we talk about this, we see that there's been a lot of talk about value. Andy Marcus talked about ultimately being measured by value. So we see the need for telcos to focus on what we call critical high-value workflows. So identifying those in the organization and then applying generative AI to those to get the optimal ROI. Part of that is the ability to curate high-quality data sets, industry-specific domain data sets, and then using that data to adapt, fine-tune, in many cases, models, but then also wrap a evaluation measurement framework around that so you can measure and incrementally improve the models over time. We see some mature telcos are actually building specific AI capabilities that they then apply to those workflows as well. And then fundamental to this all, as you mentioned, is building out an evaluation and measurement framework that can allow a telco to measure the performance, measure the reliability, and measure the ethical AI practices that they're putting in place. And then finally, just the ability to collaborate with industry partners, academic partners, and research partners to really bolster how they're applying generative AI in the organization.
And so I think what's worthwhile stating and bearing in mind at this stage is that this survey was a global survey, and there are 1,500 telcos across the world, and there's a huge number of different levels of maturity.
Yep.
And so when we sit down and we listen to Cameron from Verizon, or AT&T, clearly more advanced than others. So I think that's one point that we need to bear in mind. Nevertheless, I mean, there were some interesting findings from the survey. If I just read out a couple of the findings in terms of that technology maturity. Less than 1 in 4 of the CSPs in the survey have developed strong capabilities for improving the accuracy of different LLMs for different use cases. So what we're saying there is, only 1 in 4 can use different technology capabilities for specific use cases to get more accurate results. And when it comes to assessing the cost of assessing different LLMs, only 1 in 7 of our respondents we felt developed strong capabilities for assessing the cost of the LLMs. Only 3 out of 10 have adopted robust MLOps practices, and I think again Samir mentioned the importance of MLOps there. So clearly, a long way to go, and a very big gap between those who are sort of in the fairly early stages of looking at different LLMs, different techniques, and the more mature ones. But it's moving so quickly. Yeah. The second category, organizational responsibilities and skills. And I guess there's 2 parts to that. There's one, how do you organize yourself as a company to make sure that you get the most out of Gen AI? And secondly, what specific skills do you need to bring in? And we discussed it a little in my conversation with Andy Marcus earlier on today. So, Ross, thoughts around that topic around organization and skills?
Yeah, I think any kind of transformation, there's got to be a people, process, culture component to it. So we see from the organizational standpoint that telcos are needing to be very intentional about the design of the organization around AI decision-making, AI technology, and the ability to accelerate that across the organization. So as part of that, you'll have seen that most organizations are standing up chief AI officer, chief data officer as leadership roles in the organization to drive this. and then standing up AI centers of excellence that then help to drive and accelerate ethical AI, the roadmap within the organization, tooling, as well as training in the organization. Now, we talk a lot about the need for a common baseline platform in the organization that can really drive data governance, that can drive AI development investment decisions, risk mitigation, as well as other capabilities are required. So an example of that would be some of the great work that we've done with British Telecom around their generative AI platform, which was this fundamental baseline platform that allowed them to accelerate the deployment of use cases into production. So, but net, that cloud center of excellence we see needs to be a cross-functional capability. So across data scientists, across engineering, across legal, like most of the meetings we're in, there's some legal representation. But really that collaboration and knowledge sharing has to be enabled by the COE cross-functionally.
Yeah, and I guess ensuring the right balance between what's done at the center and roles and accountabilities in the different divisions as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, interesting, coming back to some of the findings from that, less than half of operators have a central AI office, center of excellence. Half have dedicated AI roles and responsibilities in different parts of the business. Less than half of operators have a CXO who spends most of their time on AI. And about 1 in 3 respondents said they've skilled up multiple teams and recruited a large number of skills in different AI categories. A further 25% say they're recruiting now. So if we look specifically at skills, I guess the challenge with skills is that these are new jobs, they're new roles, they're new skills. So what sense are you getting in terms of that skills acquisition? Telcos are finding what they need for that?
I think they are, and I think they're coming to hyperscalers and other organizations to actually help with that upskilling as well. So, I mean, for example, AWS has got a number of free courses that essentially internally we use for a lot of our kind of ML engineers and capability as well, that we're now essentially lending to enterprise to actually upskill as well. So I think it is a key area, and I think that they're going to benefit from this consolidation around the need for AI factories and centers of excellence to actually drive up those skill levels. Because previously they were a little bit fragmented, and you would get like data science in different functions, and they didn't really talk or collaborate or drive consistent programs. But I think that's changing now.
Thanks. So moving on, data readiness and availability. I think we all know what that topic covers. Just a couple of the findings here. More than half our respondents considered that when it comes to getting rapid access to data, their performance was between moderate and poor. 6 out of 10 respondents said that access to unstructured data within their organizations was between moderate and poor. So I guess that unstructured data is one that I'm particularly interested in looking at. And it does seem as if the industry accepts that we're not where we need to be yet.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a common theme, like the talk about data, the need to get access to now, like you say, predominantly unstructured data with generative AI is key. But I think another key thing that we're seeing is that in order to really unleash the full potential of generative AI and large language models, small language models, you really need to leverage your proprietary industry domain-specific data in order to augment those models, adapt them, fine-tune them, right? So you're going to get step function in value, lower latency, higher accuracy, all of those capabilities. The other interesting thing is that we see that value delivery is becoming more dependent on the ability to integrate data with technology and systems, as well as back-end platforms, APIs. So for example, OSS, BSS, that's going to actually give you incremental ROI. And then tying it back to data, Andy Marcus, again, we're totally aligned in our mental model on this, that data products are key to leveraging data with generative AI. So a data product being, as Andy said, something that's rubber stamped by the domain as something that is valuable to the business, is of high quality and can be consumed by the business. And data products are fundamentally the building blocks of a data-driven organization. And then combining them with reusable capabilities and primitives, you can very quickly build new capabilities into the organization. So super important for the generative AI program.
So unfortunately, we're out of time. And there's 3 pillars I haven't talked to you about. But do not fear. If you want to know about those 3 other pillars, which are around security, compliance, privacy, the other 2 are business objectives and putting into production, please go onto the floor and visit the GAMIT pillar, Generative AI Maturity Interactive Tool. We'll send you links to it. Ross, it's been great fun collaborating with the AWS team in the project.
Thank you.
We're going to carry on building it and improving as we go along. But thank you for listening to what we've been developing.
Thank you. Thank you.